first present the thumbs. We're very happy to have both the director, Azazel Jacobs, who talked a little bit before, but we also have the actor, Jacob Wysocki, here tonight. Right here. Let's stop. Right here. Oh, wow. Wow. Oh, my God. Okay. The first standing, oh, all right. Oh, wow. And I think Nate and someone else who hasn't been on the stage tonight, Mary Susan, Britt, come out. And whose thumb do you have, Nate? Okay. You'll hold on. Okay, and we're going to have Christy Lemire of the Associated Press, and Ebert Presents at the Movies. She's going to moderate tonight. Come on, Christy. We're going to put Christy in the center, and you on either one side and you on the other.
Who does not have a mic?
I don't. No, I do.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You have a mic.
I know.
You're not missing a mic.
Check.
Oh, okay, cool. Hi. Are you DJ Jazzy Jacob tonight?
Yeah.
Your hat and your
DJ
mic.
J Wild.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Hello again. I was so thrilled to watch this movie again and watch it in this room with all of you guys, and it just seemed to play really, really beautifully here. So hope you guys all enjoyed it. You seem to. What was that reception like just now?
This is really the end of this long tour for me. So it's kind of a, we premiered in last January 2011 at Sundance. So I've been traveling, and I wanted to end here, especially because Jacob, and this is a big honor. So what an incredible way for me to say goodbye, at least for a while, to this film. So thank you.
When I ran into you at O'Hare during our stopover on the way here from LA, you said that you had just come from Poland.
Yes,
right? Where it played in Poland. So
how
is it playing in different countries?
Very nicely. I mean, it's an interesting. Yeah, Poland went well. It's been really a nice run with the film. For me, I haven't sat down to watch the film for a very long time. Obviously you're in the edit room and you're seeing it backwards and forwards. So by the time we premiered Sundance, I wanted to kind of gauge how it went, but. Because this is going to be a last screening, I guess, for a long time, and because I hadn't seen it for a while, I sat in the back and watched the whole film, and I was shocked. I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't, everything in there, I can't believe I got away with shooting this stuff, man.
What did you think sitting in the back of the room watching it?
It was really cool. I totally agree. This is sort of the last hurrah of the film, and, it was a perfect place to experience it. And thanks for clapping.
Thanks for laughing in all the right places, yes. It's amazing to me, this was your first film role.
Yes, my very first one.
It's crazy, and the first day of shooting was your first day ever on a film set.
Correct, with John C. Reilly.
Yeah, how did that go?
No pressure.
Yeah.
It was very nerve-wracking. I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea what I was getting into. But I felt very comfortable with Aza because we had met and talked a couple of times before everything, so I felt like I was in extremely safe, capable hands, and I just kind of let him take over and, experienced what was going on. It was very nerve-wracking. I mean, you just like, hey, first day of movie, you gotta shoot with one of the best actors that I look up to and that a lot of people look up to, so the pressure was on, but I think I dealt with it.
You clearly dealt with it.
Yeah.
And how was John to work with in terms of making you feel comfortable?
He was great. It honestly felt like there was no sort of status difference whatsoever, and I really like that, and I really appreciate that. And he held my hand and helped me along and sort of showed me what was going on. And was patient and brilliant and beautiful. I don't know. I really respect him and I really look up to him.
Because it's a lot of intimate stuff that you're doing with him. I mean,
Yeah.
it's comedy, which is your background.
Yes.
But it's a lot of very serious, kind of darker, deeper stuff.
Yeah, it's truthful, it's real, it's honest, and sometimes, a lot of us as people don't want to get honest. So, it's a struggle to search for that and keep yourself in some awkward, uncomfortable situation, but you want to play it truthfully, so it's worth it in the long run.
How did you know that Jacob was right for this role, given he came from a purely sketch comedy background?
Yeah, I mean, actually, the sketch comedy thing threw me off because he had his audition, which went very well, and then I looked him up online and I found all these YouTube videos, and it was just so opposite of what Terri was. He's so social and so comfortable that it was like, it threw me off, but I want to bring him back in, and, there was a couple things. There was things that Jacob has within him that I realized I really wanted Terri to have there. I wanted this to be a story about a person that begins very comfortable and maybe too comfortable. Maybe he needs something to kind of get shaken from this path of just thinking that he knows how things are going to wind up being for him. And then, I wound up seeing lots of different possibilities, and I wound up bringing in the 3 top Terrys and the 3 top Chads and the 3 top Heathers. So the hallway was filled with these types, and they all had to see each other. And then I tried this Terri with this Chad and this Heather, and I just kept mixing and matching them until I started finding the right combination. Then ultimately I was able to bring John in and try him out, and then that became very clear from that point that Jacob was the right way to go.
And with all 3 of your young actors, I mean, you guys all seem so comfortable together, especially I love the scene where you all get hammered together. Because it's so truthful, and it reminds me a lot of a film I love dearly, which is Breakfast Club. It reminds me a lot of Rebel Without a Cause, in just the honesty and the dark places that they go, although their lives wouldn't seem to fit together. Were you guys thinking of any of these movies in shooting that particular scene?
Well, for me, definitely The Breakfast Club had an influence in terms of just... that in these coming of age, and especially in those John Hughes coming of age films, is this night of reckoning, this day that has to happen in these films. And I liked having this kind of shorthand that had been so well established, so that it's inevitable. And so I liked following a certain track that had been laid down, and I could briefly touch on things, and you kind of got the full idea. You didn't have to see how much he got bullied to know that it was a continuous part of his life. And so I liked having that film, but, I also want to say that when that shed scene in particular made me want to do this film, because I felt like I hadn't seen that, especially in kid films. I felt like I knew that scene. I feel like I experienced it, and it was a true thing, but I didn't feel like so far I had seen it represented in movies the way that I thought we could.
I tried to treat it as its own entity, just respect it for its uniqueness and go in and do it. I usually don't, when I'm acting, think of other movies, because then I just feel like I'm stealing ideas or something. So no, I just wanted it to be, a fresh, new sort of experience.
And I don't mean to in any way suggest that it was unoriginal. It's just there are moments and touchstones that reached out to me from other movies that I love.
Yeah.
I
no,
mean
me
it as a
too.
compliment.
No, of course, I took it. I think the film that we looked at was this Joseph Losey film, The Servant. Have you ever? It's a kind of a situation where a late night happens between a guy and his servant, and they kind of wind up switching places in a long drunken night. And that was a film that me and at least a cinematographer and the screenwriter watched and talked a lot about.
You mentioned that Terri gets bullied, but the thing that struck me the first time and struck me again about the character is that he's totally comfortable in his own skin. He's absolutely himself.
Yeah, it's that confidence, and Terri talks about it in the movie. I'm who I am, and it's the other people that see me. Their perception of me is what's wrong. I mean, that was a big thing with me and Aza, was the confidence, and knowing that he was comfortable in his own skin and that he didn't mind wearing pajamas, even though he was going to get made fun of. Because even if he didn't wear pajamas, he was going to get made fun of. So you might as well be comfortable. And
He's
the
a pragmatist.
uncomfortability of high school, yeah.
Where did the jammies come from?
The jammies were rented from a vintage.
No, well,
co-
not all
well,
of them.
We have the
Yeah, my wife Diaz, who did all the costumes, is back here, and she got all and she made the black ones, your
the black
funeral
ones she made.
So yeah, they came from all over.
Also, I wondered, how did you get the bird to eat the mice?
That was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Clearly!
That was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
I want to hear about that, shooting that scene.
You know, you could
The hawk was named Bonnie. And basically, you only get one shot because they only want to eat once, and then they get full. So these people brought 2 birds in. I think they're African hawks, for those of you that are bird watchers. And we just laid down the mice, and they just swoop on in and rip its head off.
So that reaction is totally genuine.
Oh, that's not. I don't know if
I
that's.
just wish that you could see like a photo of the whole crew shooting this, because all
Everybody.
our mouths were open. We just couldn't believe, It's like you have this thing written in the script. Oh yeah, and then the hawk comes and eats mice. But then you watch it, and everybody's, it was just like amazing. So that was one of the surprises.
The miracle of nature. Did either of you guys know somebody like Terri? I know it's based on a script. It's based on a novel that Patrick DeWitt wrote, but did you guys know someone like him that you could draw from in doing this?
I don't know. The thing. So Patrick, who's a novelist, and who's a very close friend, gave me a group of character studies of a small town and about 4 different characters, and one was Terri, and it was basically a long internal monologue from this kid that was kind of too big for this small town and wore pajamas and just went through his experiences through that day. And I think that what was a testament of the writing that made me feel like, okay, a movie is here, is that I felt through this writing, I felt very, very close to Terri. And yet it was somebody as far, I grew up in New York City, I went to public school, it was a very different experience, but my way in was really through Patrick's words.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It was a personal experience. It was taking bits and pieces of my life and remembering those weird times when people make fun of you and kind of bringing that honesty out of it. But in no way was I guess, as victimized as Terri was. So it was taking those moments and sort of re-experiencing them or experiencing them in a heightened way for the film. And I guess that's it. I want to say something like more substantial, but I guess that's it. It was just bits and pieces of my experience along with bits and pieces of Oz's experience coming together to make, something really cool.
But clearly your personality is so polar opposite from,
Yeah,
from this kid. You're a very outgoing guy.
Yeah, I'm not quiet. I don't wear pajamas. I don't wear a neck purse. I'm very different than him. Very, very different.
So how did you figure out how to dial down your inherent gregariousness?
That, for me, was the hardest thing, and it was, that was all Ozza, really. It was him coming up to me and being like, "Bring it back, more Terri." He would say like, "That's a little bit too Jacob," and that made so much sense to me. So I was like, "Yeah, that's me wanting to be funny or, trying to do something that's too much." He would, comfortably bring it back, take it back, is what he would always say, and that was enough. And I understood what that meant, and I understood that Terri floats in a certain space, and that I had to find that space and be comfortable in it and not go too much or too little.
And there's just an inherent sweetness and sort of a purity about his very being that is very, very appealing that you found. So that's not really a question.
That's Jacob. I mean, that really
That's
is.
you?
I mean, I can't, I've gone so close to Jacob through this film and through the traveling that we did. And now we haven't traveled. He's moved on to other movies, and it's made me so spiteful.
You're a big star now.
Well, I wish. We're working for it. But yeah, I mean, we got really close when we were traveling together, and when you're working with somebody like 12 hours a day, and you meet with them before the movie, and it's, for me, I was so excited, I was so like ready to work and do it, that all I wanted to do was have Ozza tell me something, because that meant I was doing something right or wrong, but at least I was doing something, and that's all I really wanted to do, was do something, because it's better than just feeling. I knew if it was bad, I was working, and I knew if it was good, I was working successfully. And that's all I wanted to do was be successful, make Ozzy happy, do what he envisioned and what he told me.
Did he make you happy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was like one of those things where the first day of seeing him act was the first day of shooting, like you said, with John, and I remember just like, oh, yes, it's going to work, like it just didn't know until that point,
How did you know you wanted to be an actor in the first place?
I really didn't. I mean, this is crazy. This is nuts. Because 3 years ago, I was in community college reading Moliere, wanting to just bore my eyes out because it was terrible. And I had done comedy and improv in high school and stuff, and I was doing it on the side when I went to school, but it was something so impossible. Especially growing up in LA, everybody moves to LA to be an actor. Everybody wants to be an actor. Everybody's in show business. So I kind of just was like, it's not going to happen. It's, it's not something that's actually tangible. And the opportunity really just kind of presented itself to me, and I took it. And when I started acting, when I started really doing it and saw that it was tangible, I just, it was like falling in love with comedy. When I first started doing comedy, it was just like, this makes sense. This is something that I understand, and it's way better than writing papers.
How has this movie changed your life? Do people walk up to you on the streets of Lomita, California and say, hey?
Not in Lomita, California. It's changed my life in a way of a more business sort of sense, because it opened all these doors to do the films and the work that I'm doing now. And without this movie, I can pretty much guarantee you that I would not be where I am today. It's honestly, it is the experience of my life because it's opened up everything. It's what let me know that I could do this. It's what gave me the confidence to keep on doing it.
What are you working on now? You're shooting a film now, right?
No, I'm not.
Sorry.
It's fine.
I know
I just hate
there's a
to
movie
admit
coming
that
out,
I'm
though.
just not doing anything.
No, but there's a movie coming out soon.
Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
movie that just came out at South by Southwest called Fat Kid Rules the World, and that's going around to some festivals. And I did another movie called Pitch Perfect that's should be coming out either next year or early into the new year. So I'm excited about that. I mean, things have been going. They're not, like, there's no rockets in the sky saying my name or anything, but I'm working and I'm having fun doing what I'm doing. And I have my two buddies here from my sketch group, and we film sketches every week. Those two guys.
They're in the back, right? I was gonna ask you about them. Which one's Turtle and which one's E?
Stand up, dudes. These are my best friends that came with me.
Hi.
As soon as my agent found out I was taking them, they said, one rule, you can't get arrested. So they're great influences.
So far, so good.
Yeah. But we do sketches and we make movies on our own. And that's a labor of love because they're my best friends and we're all just making jokes together.
And having grown up with a filmmaker father and an artist mother, I'm guessing creativity is in your DNA, and this was what you were always going to want to do. Is that accurate?
I would say that I always wanted to have something to do with the arts. I mean, that film wasn't so clear until maybe 18 or 19, but I think I originally wanted to be a cartoonist and then somehow shifted into filmmaking. But I grew up with a sense that film, like I said earlier, was something important and worthwhile, and that art was worthwhile.
Do you still draw?
No, not really, but I still dream of being a cartoonist at some point.
There's time.
Yeah,
You
no,
can
there
do
is
it
time.
all.
Yeah, that would be nice.
What do you want to do next? What's going on with you?
There's a few. I'm working with Patrick again, and there's a couple of things. And basically, the way it works is there's a few different things that I'll be really happy if either one happens. But my hope is to continue to make films that are different from each other. So I'm trying to look for stuff and work on stuff that has me worried and that I'm not sure how will turn out.
But you've made a few movies now. So what do you know now that you wish you had known in the beginning?
Oh, that's
That's a good one.
wait.
I like that one too. I ask that one a lot.
In the beginning of, the lesson always with each film is where the fight is and what's worth fighting for. And, especially the films have gotten a bit bigger and there's a bigger crew and it takes more money and all these things. And you just have to kind of determine what battle, and that's a constant thing that I'm kind of relearning how to make, because a lot of things you don't have, you really aren't going to wind up on screen, and it just comes down to a matter of having a certain type of pride. And then certain times it's just a matter of listening to people and there's no fight there. It's always that gauge for me. And then certain things that you have to be very stubborn about. That's the things that I've kind of learned. I think I've learned to listen a bit more.
Learning what to fight for is important.
Yeah. I remember with the first films, it was just like a fighting with everybody and just like, no, this is the way it is. And then you realize, no, there's other people that can actually help you be more precise.
You guys probably have a lot of questions out there too. Can we open it up to all you guys? There are wonderful microphone wranglers interspersed throughout the crowd who will come and find you with your questions, because I can't see anything. So please raise your hand and someone will come to you with a mic. And you can ask a question and they'll answer it.
Straight back.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you were talking earlier about how you had to dial it down in terms of your personality and your comedy. This movie has a lot of comedy personalities. It's got John C. Reilly, you've got Creed Bratton, you've got Tim Heidecker in there, and they're all sort of doing roles that aren't enormously comedic. I mean, Tim Heidecker isn't even really being comedic, he's just being a gym teacher. Was that a conscious decision? Why would you put these hugely comic actors in these rather straight roles?
It just came down to me thinking that they were the right people for the role. With Creed, he came in. He's a serious trained actor. You know him on The Office, but he's been acting for many, many, many years and doing all sorts of stuff. So when he came in and did the audition, a lot of people auditioned. I just saw the person that I thought would do the best job, and that really came down to Tim Heidecker was somebody that you when it comes down to casting, it's a certain, you're looking for a certain kind of taste and texture, and I guess for me, Tim Heidecker felt like a gym teacher. Someone
will just shout out eventually, I'm sure. I can't see anything.
Yeah, I can't see either.
I see somebody over there. We're coming to you. They're going to come to you with a mic.
How many shooting days was it?
We shot over 23 days.
And in California, right?
Yeah, in the Pasadena area of California, San Gabriel, a few different places. And we shot on film, which seems like more and more a rarity.
We were talking about that last night with Stephen Goldblatt, the longtime DP who has only shot on film.
Yeah,
Things are changing.
Yeah, things are changing. But for me, film was very important because of the films that you brought up, like Breakfast Club. But I wanted this film to have a relationship. I wanted to be part of that conversation of these movies. And a lot of the films that, me and my cinematographer looked at were Hal Ashby films. I very much wanted that world. I wanted to have a relationship to that world where I felt Hal Ashby was able to kind of create these realities that weren't completely our reality, but they felt true to our world, and that's what I was looking for. I felt like there was when I read Terri, I saw it much more as a fable than being like, okay, this is grounded in the same exact as our ground.
Yeah, definitely. There's a softness and an intimacy to it that I think film definitely gives it.
Yeah, and it just it allows you this kind of liberty that you don't have to, could he really take these kids out to a funeral? Like all these things that in reality could be a whole other thing, but it just allowed, in this story, it's true.
Who else? Ask things.
Hi, thank you so much for this film. We're filmmakers that have a film over here as well, and it's so hard making independent films, but you come and you see work like this, and it inspires you to make more movies, so thanks a lot. My question is, can you talk about your process with the actors, especially on the scene where everyone's getting hammered? The performances were so incredible between all of the cast members. If you could speak just about your process as a director, working with your actors, and for the actor as well, just kind of how that unfolds.
Sure thing. What film are you here with?
With Patang, the Kite screening on Saturday. So
Screening Saturday? Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. Well, yeah, the shed scene, like I said, was, it was weighing over the whole shoot. I saved it for last. I very much wanted to get to the place where the actors trusted me and trusted each other. And so there was a weight going through the whole shoot, knowing that this big scene was coming up. And I think, as much as it inspired me and intimidated the idea, I think it would be very easy to play a false note. And I wanted to be very careful to not make this a party. I guess in the opposite of a John Hughes films, I always felt like this was a night to remember, and like this is a night to remember, but I wanted there to be this weight that, there's a chance that a kid won't wake up the next day. There's a chance that I wanted to take that. I felt very responsible showing if I'm going to have kids doing drugs and alcohol, that this, as much as possible, wasn't an advertisement or a PSA. I didn't want to pass judgment in that way. I wanted them just to be human and for people to trust people to take their own opinion of it. I had these producers that were very trustworthy. Obviously, like, we kind of knew that we were dealing with an R-rated film, and we were able to take 2 days to shoot that shed scene, and very few people could fit in there. It was me, a cinematographer, the 3 actors, sound person, and the AC. And then there was the monitors were running out where parents and the producers were all watching. And we were very much left alone. You just kind of got into this place where you forgot that there was a whole, 40 or whatever people outside, and we were just kind of left alone for those 2 days and just kind of working out how people moved and where, just feeling what was comfortable. I think that's pretty much what I remember, yeah?
You got it.
From the balcony, up here.
Hi, I thought it was very interesting that even though Terry had no sort of role models in his life, that he had this very moral center. And I thought it was interesting, too, that although he does have this strong moral center, that doesn't mean that he is this perfect angelic person, as in the lapse of judgment with the alcohol and the pills and so forth. So I just thought that that was really, it really resonated with me. I used to teach middle school, and from time to time I would find out that some of the kids in my classes were from essentially really distressed kinds of family situations. And so on that note alone, and there were many other notes in which this film resonated for me. So thanks very much.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, you asked me if I knew a Terri, and I feel like I think back in high school and I think about and I remember certain kids, and I wish I reached out to them. I wish I knew them, because I feel like I'm envious of the kind of the thing that Terri has. I wish I had that, some kind of thing, that kind of kindness in him, even though I feel like he's very human.
Who else?
Your left of center near the aisle.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm here with my wonderful son who goes to school here, and
It's uncomfortable.
he's at one point I whispered to him, "This is a parent's nightmare," but
Yeah.
but I am really, he's a great kid, and I'm really, really proud of him. But he's hitting me. Okay, here's my question for Jacob. Now, here you are, really successful. Are your parents still worrying about you?
I still live with my parents, I'll be honest. I don't think they're that worried, but I think there might be a little tiny piece in the back of their head that's like, what if he just stays here forever? And I don't want to do that. But I think that they understand, especially after, having gone to Sundance and gone to all the festivals and come here, they see that it's not some silly pipe dream, that it's a real thing that I can do, and they're more than supportive. I know a lot of people that want to do this kind of stuff, and their parents don't let them. And so I'm very fortunate because of that, and I'm happy to have their support.
Yeah, I remember the first screening that we had, I was sitting there, I was so nervous, I was squeezing my wife's hand, and then the couple in front of me started, I could tell that they were really enjoying the film, and I was starting to get very relaxed about it. I was like, okay, it's working. And then I looked and I saw that it was his parents, and I was like, oh. So it made me nervous all over again, but I was happy that,
They must have been tickled to see you in your film debut.
They were just crying. They just cried, and that feels cool. I'm so happy that they're supportive and good parents.
Who else? I see
Hi.
one back there.
Hi, I'm curious about some of the mannerisms that were in Terri's character, the running especially. I thought it was kind of cute and quirky, but believable. And then the hair pulling as well. Where did those ideas come from?
Well, as far as those little things, that's the stuff that I think is really interesting as an actor. Those little tiny characteristics, those nuanced choices that sort of make sense to me. And when it comes to acting, I feel like I'm very physical with my characterization, and so physicality helps me find the character better, and knowing how they walk and how they move. It's sort of, once you start moving, everything else sort of follows along with it, a step at a time. And so it just was a way for me to add something else to the character that, adds a layer on screen and then adds a layer for my own personal sort of understanding of what's going on.
I love his little run. I'm glad you asked that question.
I always
It's
thought
so
that's the
cute.
way you ran.
I do not, no, I don't run like that.
Very masculine stride. Who else? Anybody?
Well, just in terms of the kid pulling his hair, I just know that Patrick DeWitt went to a kid like that, so that was just drawn from his own high school experience.
Question here in the front.
Hi. I thought the character of Chad was one of the most interesting characters in the story, just because I feel like I went to school with a kid exactly like that, and I was wondering if there's any specific inspiration for him, and I kind of noticed little kind of Eddie Furlong kind of things in his character that I was like, that looks a lot like young Eddie Furlong, classic Eddie Furlong.
Yeah, I went to school with that kid too, I think that's the kid that you realize, ooh, it's going to either become, he's going to do something great or he's going to do something horrible. You just don't know which one. And it's interesting. Bridger Zadina, who plays Chad, couldn't be farther away from that character. I mean, he's a very, very highly trained, Shakespearean actor who would I'd call cut and come over and to discuss different things and these little moments in there, and it was just a mind trip just to see these two characters. But I felt like he knew that person as well. It's a dangerous person, but it's also a very kind of interesting and attractive person, to me at least,
From the balcony, up here.
Hi, balcony.
I found myself looking at the background in Uncle James's house. What's the backstory of that family, that man, all the rich things around in the set? The
It is
accordion,
production design very, very well. The details.
Well, the idea was I very much wanted you to know that that Uncle James had a life, that he was coming from a place, that he was a person that had experienced and enjoyed life, and that he was a particular person, and that this is something that mattered, that was slipping away from him, and especially when he was conscious of what it was. I wanted that to be there. And I felt like that in turn would kind of reflect some of the good qualities that Terri had that, as early on in their relationship was kind of passed on. I feel like Uncle James is a thinker, and I felt like that got passed on.
I like the line about how there's a window and he wants to take advantage of it.
Yeah, me too. That always got to me that he understood this. I wanted it to be, I guess that's it, I wanted it to matter. I wanted there to be a real loss. And so when he had these moments, it truly meant something to him.
Anybody else?
But that house was,
That wasn't PD, that was a real house.
that was, yeah.
In like La Cresseta in the hills and somewhere like that? Yeah.
Up in Altadena.
That's right.
Which is
Yeah,
by
I mean,
Pasadena.
we just knocked on doors and we found that place, and we had to clear out a lot of stuff actually to shoot there, but
Yeah, we didn't add anything. We had to remove things to film.
yeah, we had to remove, but I felt like I very much, especially cutting the film and looking at their house, I came to care about them. I felt like these are people, they live differently, but that's good.
I think there's a question on the balcony again somewhere. I thought I saw one. No? Okay, sorry.
Bailed.
I'm hijacking this Q&A, sorry. Anybody else?
I'm 21. Thank you so much.
Well, let's end it there. Nice work, Monica. Good ending.
Perfect.
All right,
Thank
you
you
guys,
so much.
thank you so much. Thank you so much
Thank
to you,
you.
Jacob. Thank you, Azazel.
Thanks for coming, guys.
So much fun. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Take your thumb. You have thumb.